Welcome to another Mr. Paul video. Today is part 2 of discussing 5.2, writing equations from situations and tables. Once again, this is continually boiling down to our mastery of this y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. This is called slope-intercept form. And we know this is slope-intercept form because when it's in this form, we know the slope and the y-intercept. Clever, huh? Remember that the slope is the change in y over the change in x. We're studying how numbers are changing. It's a rate. We're comparing the rise on a graph to the run of a graph, right? The distance up and down compared to the distance left and right. The y-intercept, we're studying it as b equals, right? That's how they can give it to us. They can tell us what the y-intercept is. Or it might come in the coordinate form 0, b, where 0 is your x and b is your y. If I give you a table, could you create an equation that looks like y equals mx plus b that's in slope-intercept form? Well, let me give you a table. Let's find out. Here's an x. Here's a y, and we'll create a table. So we're going to have 0, 3, 6, 9, and then we're going to have -4, 1, 6, and 11. Now I strongly encourage you to pause this video and see how far you can get. A lot of this process can be done even though we have this negative number here and it gives us a little bit of anxiety. Pause your video now. You probably didn't even pause it. Kudos if you did. Once again, we need two pieces of information. Two. We need the m and we need the b. If we know the slope and we know the y-intercept, then we know all there is to know about this line. But how do we find that in the table? Well, once again, let's start with the b because that's the easiest. We're looking for when x is equal to 0. There's only one location where x is equal to 0. Blue's Clues says it's right here. This location right here. When x is equal to 0, y is equal to -4. This is the coordinate 0, -4. Therefore, I know that my b is equal to -4. Okay, that wasn't so bad. My m, I have to understand that this is the change in y over the change in x. The change in y over the change in x. How are my y's changing to get from one number to the next? How are my x changing to get from one number to the next? Well, let's study the x's first. To get from 1 to the next. To get from 0 to 3, from 3 to 6, from 6 to 9. Each time I'm adding 3. The y's this time, to get from -4 to 1, from 1 to 6, from 6 to 11. I may not be very good at this -4 to 1, but I do know this. How do I get from 1 to 6, from 6 to 11? Each time I add 5. Also, -4 plus 5 is 1. -4 plus 5 is 1. All of these are adding 5. Sometimes looking at the pattern of the other numbers helps give me this clue if I'm not really good at adding my negative numbers. Okay, just one more trick I can give you. Well, if I'm studying the change in y, well, the y's are my bottom, so I'm studying the change in y. I'm looking at these numbers right here. My change in y is 5. My change in x, I'm looking at these numbers right here. Each time they're going up by 3. My slope is 5/3. So if I'm trying to write a line that looks like y equals mx plus b, I know m and I know b. Therefore, I know this line. Y equals 5/3x minus 4. Where 5/3 is this 5/3, this -4 is this -4. Okay, let's try one more example. Let's try one more example. Let me erase this. We'll try one more example. What else can they possibly throw at us? What else can they possibly throw at us on a table? Let's really mess some things up. Let's get crazy. Math crazy, not real crazy, just math crazy. We have an X, we have a Y, we have another table. I have a 0, I have a 2, I have a 4, I have a 6. And then I have a 2. I have a -1, a -4, and a -7. Go ahead and pause the video on this table. See how far you can get. Thank you for pausing. I hope. Once again, it boils down to two things. We need two things. Two things. We need an M and we need a B. If we know these two things, then we know our equation of our line. Okay? Well, once again, my B looks like B equals or 0 comma B. In the table, I'm looking for the 0 comma B. I'm looking for when X is equal to 0. I'm looking at this location right here. Remember, this is the coordinate 0 comma 2. Coordinates come with X's and Y's. X and Y. 0, 2. So my B is 2. The M is change in Y over the change in X. Meaning, I want to study how my Y's are changing compared to how my X's are changing. So, the Y's. Let's start with the Y's or the X's. Study how this changes or how this changes. We're going to need to find both anyway. Let's start with the top. 0 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 6. Each time we're adding 2. On the bottom, to get from 2 to -1. Uh-oh. It's one of those things I don't like again. I don't know what I have to add to 2 to get to -1. What do I have to subtract? I don't know. Well, let's look at these other examples. To get from -1 to -4. To get from -4 to -7. Okay, these seem a little bit clearer. -1, if I take away 3 more, I'll end up at -4. -4, if I take away 3 more, I'll end up at -7. That was the clue we used last time. 2 take away 3 is -1. Take away 3. Okay, I'm studying these numbers for my change in X and change in Y. My change in Y are the numbers in the bottom. I have a -3. My number in the top, meaning my change in X, is 2. My slope is -3 over 2. So if I'm making a line that looks like Y equals MX plus B, I know M, I know B. Y equals -3 over 2, X plus 2. The process remains the same. I'm trying to find where X is equal to 0 and Y is equal to some number because I understand what this means. And I'm trying to find how my X's and Y's are changing because I know what this means. In the next video, we'll be discussing how this looks in a graph. That's all for equations, writing equations from tables. Hope this all helps. Peace.